2019. All right, well, let's move on now. And we're speaking to our friends from the FDA. They're joining us to speak on ensuring food safety during this Christmas season and beyond. And I'm honored to be joined by the Acting Director, Inspectorate Directorate, and Maria Lovelace Johnson. Hello, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Is it Maria or Mariah?
Any.
Okay. All right, okay. Well, thank you for joining us this morning, and Merry Christmas to you.
Many happy returns.
So we're really excited about Christmas, and of course it means that we're going to be eating a lot more. A lot of people, you know, going out and eating. Do you find that around Christmas time, maybe because the demand goes up, so standards tend to drop a little bit more?
Well, thank you very much for the question. Well, to some extent, yes, and then I would say no as well. It's not about the standards going down. It's about the markets being, it's about the markets having a lot of products present at that time, at Christmas time.
Okay.
But then the FDA has put in a regulation that doesn't let that happen anymore. We put that in last year. Hitherto, we had the market being flooded with all sorts of products around Christmas time. But we put in this regulation that does not allow products that do not have 2/3 of their shelf life intact being allowed into the country. Hitherto, what was happening was that people go outside the country, they go abroad, and then when there are promotions around August, September, I mean, a lot of promotions, you know, and when the things are just about 3-4 months to expiry, they say buy one, get one free, and all of that.
Yeah.
So they buy them, and then they get them into the country. When they buy 20-footer containers, about 10, 20 of them, a lot of such products. And when they get here, and if before the products get here, it will take about 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So September, they buy somewhere around September, October, November, it gets in. By the time it gets in, they have just about a month or two to the best before dates. And so they go like, don't call me, don't call me, don't call me. And they are not even selling from their own retail outlets. They just give it to the hawkers.
Yeah.
Everybody, all the hawkers just converge in front of their retail points or wholesale places and take all of them and just flood the market with that. So it was really an issue.
Yeah.
And then it gets our market surveillance department to be going out, just trying to see which ones are expired, which ones, and how many days do they have to expire. And these hawkers, I mean, traceability with the hawkers was difficult, more difficult with these.
Yeah.
So we said no. Instead of us having the tap flowing and having a mop and just mopping while the tap is flowing, we needed to find a way of closing the tap. So we said 2/3 of shelf life must be intact before you bring it in. So if a product is produced, let's say, on the 21st of January, and it's expiring 21st of January 2021, and it's expiring 21st of January 2022, you have January, so February 1 month, March, April. So by 21st April, 21st May, if you have 4 months of it gone, if it's it has a 12-month shelf life. By the 5th month, you cannot bring it in.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, so we are no more. So that's how I said the question, yes, to some extent. That's been the perception all along. But things have changed drastically. We do not have those ones coming in with standards falling and all of that. Then again, our ports of entry too, we are not allowing unregistered products into the country. That's also another thing we have put in. Initially, we were bringing them, they were bringing them to their warehouses, we were detaining them because we didn't have FDA warehouses, so to speak. They were keeping them in their own warehouses. We were locking and then they were locking as well. We had keys. Some way, somehow, sometimes they had ways of taking some out and all of that. Maybe we know one entrance, who knows, they can do a second entrance.
Exactly,
and then we were sometimes even detaining under their own case. And when we come back and they have taken, there will be an issue. There were still some people who were finding ways and means.
Yeah.
So now, if it is not registered, we are not allowing it into the country. So these are things we have put in place that have to a large extent reduced the fact that around this time we have standards falling or things that do not meet FDA standards being on the market. So we have done a lot in that regard.
Okay.
To some extent, still on your first question, dented products. Those ones are things that are on the market. It has to be a market surveillance thing. And you know, before a product just gets dented, there's a very little thing. It's like something that just falls, and then there's an impact. So we are telling consumers, it is not the best to buy dented products. And so people to know that FDA is educating people, the population, telling them dented products are not the best. So what they are doing is buy one, get one free, to entice people to buy dented products.
Yeah.
And the thing about dented products is that, let's say, if it is a can, I was checking if you have a can here.
No,
if it is a can, on top of the can, you know, there is a lid. And the lid closes the can and locks it, completely. Yeah. So that it is hermetically sealed. In that case, there is no air going to enter. When there is an impact at the point close to the junction of the lid, and body, whatever, there is sometimes some bit of it goes in and it allows some water to enter. And when some air to enter, and you know, microorganisms are ubiquitous. Wherever they are, or wherever there is air,
they'll find a way.
So if air has the ability to enter that can,
there's a problem.
It will follow. Microorganisms will follow, and then they get in there. And when they get in there, there is a problem. When they get in there, they are going to respire and give out the air, gases, and all of that. And you get the cans even bloating.
Yeah, I've seen
some. And yes, and when they bloat, you think, oh, maybe it's filled with so much corned beef. So you may, but that is very dangerous. Sometimes the bloating is not just due to the impact causing the, maybe under processing. And you see, it can kill you, or the best it can do is paralysis. That's the best. So it is really fatal. You do not have to go close to bloated cans. And even still with the dented cans, there are some that the impact will not be at the junction of the lid body, but just on the body. So there may not be the possibility of air entering in, but just on the body. But on the body, there is always a lining of the can, of a metal, such that the food product will not have a direct interaction with the metal can, the metal of the can, because almost all the foods have low acids. Low acid canned foods, so there is some bit of acid in. So the lining, like the lacquer, epoxy resin, and all of that, they act as a barrier to prevent the direct interaction. So if there is an impact, it may chip off, just like, let's say, enamel bowls, enamel pans that we use in their homes. Sometimes when they fall off, you realize that it chips off, and then the metal is exposed. I don't know if you've seen some before. There are those.
Yeah, yes. I have, yeah.
So those ones, how you see the metal exposed is what could be the possibility of the happening due to the impact on the can. On the can, yeah. Yes. So when you see dented cans, some of these things are also really. Why don't you just avoid it? Yeah, completely. Even if it is buy one get two free, yes. We have to avoid it.
Does that mean that in a way, it's not absolute, it's not a rule, but we should maybe over this Christmas period be a little bit wary of the freebies?
Yes, to a very large extent, because even in Fanti, they say will be into a nakoko berikwa, which means nobody sells the layer for nothing. If you are selling your layer, it means that the layer is a very old layer, because it's the layer that's going to lay eggs for you. Why sell the layer when it's going to lay thousands of eggs for you? You would rather sell the broilers. I mean the...
Of course, yeah.
So why sell a layer? So if anyone is selling a layer, you ask yourself, what is it? Well, the layers too are nice. Why not? Everybody likes that. Likes nice things. So it's nice to have a freebie, but just do an assessment yourself.
Okay.
Look at it. Okay, buy one, get two free. This is product A. Let me look at the best before date. Okay, it's ABC or whatever. 30 days to expiry. Okay, I have a family of 5. Let's say it's about milk. We take a can of milk or 2 cans of milk a day. Let's say a can of milk a day, and it's 30 days to expiry. I'm not going to take more than that. So if I buy one, I get one free. Let me buy 15 and I get 30. Instead of thinking that buy one, get one free. So I'm buying 3 boxes, because even the buy one was being reduced and all of that. So I'm buying 3 boxes. And then at the end of the 30 days, what happens? Am I now going to eat? Well, unless of course I change the diet, that I'm going to make a milk diet in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. If I do that assessment and I think that we are going to really, so everybody should do the assessment, because once something like that is happening, there may be something. There may also be that somebody just wants to introduce a product, and it's just that it's during Christmas time that people now have time. I mean, we're always running around, going to work and all of that. Around Christmas, at least you get a few days to spend at home. So there will be that possibility of, let me drink something, let me take something. Yes, you see. So everybody kind of gains some little weight after Christmas and all of that. So really, let me introduce it, and people will be having
more open. So I just clarify for us, you know, on some products you see best before, and then on some products you see expiry date. What's the difference?
Best before date is telling you that if you take this product before such a date, the integrity of the product, as in the characteristics of the product and all of that, may not be as it was in the beginning, may not be as I claim it should be, may not be as what the product has to be. So let's say something like biscuits, and then the crunchiness of the biscuits. So you take a biscuit that is close to best before date, and then the biscuits, that has the best before date elapsed, and the biscuit has gone flat. So you say, the biscuits are flat. That was not the biscuit that producer did. Producer or manufacturer did it as a crunchy, crispy biscuit, and then it came out like that. Okay. So that is, if you want the biscuit with all its characteristics, its texture, uncompromised and all of it, it is best before such a date. Expiry date has it that if you take it on such a date, it has expired and it may have dire consequences. Okay. But having said that, for me, be it best before date or expiry, you are not a guinea pig. You are using money to buy the thing. So avoid both. And use the biscuits example I use like this, the crunchiness of the biscuits. It's gone flat. You may think there is nothing wrong, but what has caused it to go flat? What has caused it to go flat is that it's been there for a long time, and the packaging is such that after a while, it has the biscuits have imbibed some water, some vapor from the atmosphere, and it has caused the crunchiness to be lost, the water that has come in. And we all know that the germs, microorganisms, like things with a higher water activity. So if biscuits would have taken 5, I mean, it really doesn't get spoiled early. Now that it's imbibed the water, the microbes are going to start working in it. They will be in it, they are living, they are breathing, and with time you may even see it going moldy.
Yeah, yeah.
So you see, the best before is even to some extent related to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just lost its crunchiness, but the implication is that the vapor is higher. The water activity has gotten higher. So microbial growth is going to be higher. And as the microbial growth is going to be higher, toxins are going to be produced, and pathogenic microorganisms that are going to produce that toxins. And it may result in foodborne illnesses.
Okay, that's really good to know. So before I let you go, though, is it possible for you to just run through the things that we should look out for as we're doing our shopping in terms of packaged products and all of that? And then what about the fresh stuff as well? So, we're picking our cheeses, our processed meats, and even, chicken, goats, all those things from behind the counter or the cold store. So what do we look out for to make sure that we're getting good stuff?
Okay, so to start with the fresh stuff, yes, definitely FDA is in charge of all of that. With the cold stores, to a very large extent, we've licensed almost all of them.
Okay.
Retail shops to all the meat processing counters and all of that too. We have trained and licensed them.
Okay.
We know how they are working to a very large extent. What we all have to look out for basically is all these things should be frozen or cold, kept cold. The cold cuts should be kept cold.
Okay.
So yes, it may not be practical going around with your thermometer
sticking it into everything.
But then you kind of have an idea of when we say cold. I mean, highest for the meats and fishes should be 5 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
Because then again, it all has its basis from microbial growth. The microorganisms will not do well under 5 degrees Celsius. Anything above 5 degrees Celsius,
then they can
start multiplying, growing, multiplying, producing their toxins, and we having an issue. So basically, if you have it there, you can keep that okay. And then the ones that are kept at ambient temperature, like just the fresh products, I mean, really, you make sure that they are sold well, the environment is okay, you are not going to get microbial contamination and all of that. People even selling things. And of course, people are going to end up going to the restaurants and parties and all of that. You go, if you are even taking somebody to do some catering stuff for you, check if the person has a food hygiene permit. If the person has a food hygiene permit, then you can even engage the person to do food for you to serve others, because it's about people's lives. As we go to parties and salads are sold or served, please, salads must be served on ice. No compromise.
Okay.
On ice, so that it's must be cold. Any warm salad next to the buffet table where the fire is and next to it, you know you're in for disaster. The next moment or the next day, the washroom will be you will be there, I mean, really. And sometimes it's not just that, and then you're vomiting as well, and then the nausea and the feeling. I mean, really, it's a lot.
It's not worth it.
It's at all. Already Hamatan is in, and people are having all these kind of colds, and people even scared of whether it is Omicron and all of that.
I know, right?
Yes, we never can tell.
And you want to add running stomach
and vomiting. I mean, you may not be able to. So let's just be very careful, especially because of the Omicron and whatever, the COVID issues. Don't go and add an unnecessary one. That one is not so controllable. I mean, we are just doing all we can do, masking up and social distancing and all that. But then you cannot really control. This you can control because it is what you take in. So whatever you are taking in, please ensure it is good. People going out to buy meat and fish and all of that should take ice chests with ice or ice packs. I mean, really, sometimes when we say ice packs and they think it's being a bit complex, just buy the people who tie water. Just buy, or sachet water. If you like, if you know you're going, just go get some sachet water, put them in your freezer. 3-4 days, or I mean a day or two, you pick about 4 or 5 sachet blocks in from your freezer. Put them in your ice chest. Simple life. It's
you
not
just
really
buy.
like
It's not
go look for.
complicated, yeah.
Yes, so that we get all of that on ice and.
We should be safe.
Yes.
Make it out alive. Well, thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us this morning. And thank you for all the little bits of information. We'll try to stay safe out there this Christmas. Thank you so much. I'm speaking to Maria Lovelace Johnson, Acting Director, Inspectorate Directorate of the FDA.